Yep. Okay, a little bit back. It's got some distortion. All right.
Okay, we're going to hold with tradition. The station commander at 59 is Captain Cardero. And so he's going to actually present the PRB personal record book. And yes, Mark is Ama's personal friend because he's my daddy. He told me that many times. I know you guys see the resemblance. He always tells me, son, who's your daddy? But he says it in this funny way, it kind of scares me. He has his hand on my shoulder when he's saying it. Before I turn this over to Captain Cordero, I want to show you guys something. I basically, see, they don't know any chiefs in the room. Okay. I have all the secret codes to get in downtown. I went downtown. I walked up to this special place, and they keep all of our personal records there. So I went to see Mark's personal records. It's still there. You guys know? You didn't know that, huh? Okay, I'm gonna show you something.
Big skull.
This is what I found. It's papyrus. It has some hieroglyphs and some stuff on there. Once I started touching it, it kind of just fell apart. So I had to take a picture of my phone, send it to myself, and then I had to go to a printer so that they could print it. And they were like, what? What I saw on there is, who here? See, Robin doesn't even know. Where's his kids? Sons, daughters, my brothers and sisters. What's our daddy name? What's his real name? His real name? Yoda. Okay, that's one. Anybody else? Mark. The man. Myth. Legend. Okay. I found this document. It was on papyrus. It says his real name is Marcus Segalius. And I was like, what the heck? But it had in little small letters, AKA Marc Segal. I was like the actor. And then up under that, it says protector and Jewish prince. I knew I came from royalty. I knew it. Then it had this other information. Arrived on Earth 700 years following the flood. Like, wow. And his duty was to serve man in order to make mankind better. I was like, wow. And then it says, you have power and ability to choose your own destiny and achieve anything you want in life. I was like, wow. You are pragmatic, thorough, strong-willed, practical, and stubborn at times.
Amen.
But you are but you are hardworking, often a martyr of duty. And I was like, yeah, that's him. I was trying to read who wrote this, who kind of wrote that in papyrus, and it said something like Pharaoh or Ra, something. I couldn't. On papyrus. Okay, enough beating up Mark. Cap? Come on up here. Old Bella.
All right, so for those of you who don't know, PRB is just a record of personal service, any kind of injuries, any kind of transfers, anything is in there. And I did flip through this. I didn't find a scroll. I thought I found an old stone with his name chiseled in it, something like that.
I was trying to get good.
I did actually notice that he has a couple transfers in there that happened before I was even born, which is pretty interesting.
Oh, here we go.
But on a personal note, I transferred into the station, and Captain Seagull was already there. And it was a benefit to me being a new captain, having somebody with a lot of experience, somebody with real timely advice, very constant, consistent, and he has a lot of mantras. And one of them that probably everybody hears all the time is be nice in transport. Very simple things that if you just do it, It's going to keep you out of a lot of problems. And so I do appreciate the advice that he gave me, and having him around is a big benefit to me. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right. Thank you again.
Hey, did we see all the sick days?
So you can look. There's more sick days than I think I have a time on the job.
Okay, Mark's book is as old as I am. Who's next?
Oh, how about a round of applause to the most entertaining part of the night? Wow. Professional Standards Division isn't here tonight, are they? All right. Next, we will have a presentation by one of our retired firefighter paramedics, Bobby Raya, who worked in Battalion 6 with Captain Seagull. And then we'll have a retirement badge presentation by our current chief, Benarchik. I'll bring it to you.
I retired back in 2010, and Mark and I worked together many, many, many years. I think the most fun we had together, though, was when we went to, was it Warner Brothers? NBC Studios. We were actually doing meeting with the producers of The Third Watch, and we sat down with a bunch of firefighters and paramedics, and we told stories, and they were getting ideas for the program. And we went there, and it was probably the most entertaining time. It was funny because we would laugh, we would cry together. Some of the stories were incredibly hysterical. Some of them were deeply heartrending, and that really was kind of epitomized our career. We had some really wonderful high times. We had some very low times, but we survived those low times together. And Mark was always a real guiding force for all of us. And I say that, and I'm not trying to stroke anything like that, but you really were, Mark. And I really respect you and admire you for all that you did for all of us. The other thing, yes. I have to say this one more time, since Artie's back there. My nickname for many, many years that he gave me was Babioso. And he came up to me way, way back in the 70s and said, "Hey, Babioso." And he giggled as he walked away. And I'm sitting there going, knowing Artie as I do, I says, that son of a gun is pulling something on me. This went on for 30 years. "Hey, Babioso." And I couldn't figure it out. I says, okay, Babioso. Bobby, my name, Oso is bear in Spanish. What the heck does that mean? And finally one day, Artie's getting ready to retire. I said, okay, Tootie, what the hell have you been doing to me all these years? And he laughed hysterically, and he looked at me and said, you haven't figured it out yet? And he said, I says, Babioso, bavoso, which means dummy in Spanish. Thank you, Artie. Love you. I'm going to actually read a letter here from the governor's office. It's actually from Governor Jerry Brown. Rumor has it, though, that this, because of the long tenure, this was actually written during the time he was dating Linda Ronstadt. Oh, look, it's even co-signed by Linda Ronstadt. Seriously, this is quite a nice thing for a very good man. Captain Paramedic Marc Segal. It is a distinct honor to congratulate you upon your retirement from the Los Angeles Fire Department after 41 years in the fire service. Your commitment, courage, and professionalism have earned you the respect and admiration of your colleagues and the community. On behalf of the state of California, I thank you for providing the highest quality of emergency, safety, and support services. You have my gratitude for your dedication to enhancing public safety and protecting public and private property. Best wishes for a rewarding retirement that allows you to spend much deserved time with loved ones and enjoy new opportunities. Sincerely, Governor Jerry Brown. Congratulations, my friend.
Love you, buddy. Thank you for you. You
Did you want to take a picture with that?
Want to take a picture?
Yeah. Congrats again.
Yeah, I just got to take one moment to say one thing. We brought up some of our times together, but you know, it was at a wedding that we were invited to. That you know, we really started talking about old times, and Art was at the wedding. I think Steve Lilienthal's daughter was at the wedding. Now, I'm not going to tell you what everything that was said, but we were approached by a producer and writer that I was working with as a script consultant. And when Bobby was talking about the stories that we told, and you'll probably hear some stories tonight, those of you that haven't lived them already, it truly was a walk through time where, you know, we would laugh and cry and laugh again and cry again, and they ended up using a lot of those stories in the TV show, and we're going to do it again. So I'm going to get some of the guys together, and we'll actually meet up and go over some stories again. But you know, it's an amazing experience, and you know, when Bobby talked about it, I remembered it, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. And thank Bobby for coming here, and we'll get on with this. But thank you again.
Mark just said he didn't even vote for the guy. Shows the unconditional love, Captain Seagull, that we all have for you, including the non-corrupt mayor's office. So Mark was appointed in June 1973 to the position of ambulance driver. On the fire department now, currently, we don't have ambulance drivers anymore unless they're firefighters that haven't decided to go to paramedic school. And those are called firefighter EMTs, and they operate on our BLS ambulances. But a lot has changed since Mark's been on the job. Mark was promoted to paramedic supervisor, which was nomenclature used prior to paramedic supervisors being called officers or captains. He was a paramedic supervisor in 1988. So that means that Mark was in a position of leadership on this department before over half of the 3,000 plus member LA Fire Department has been appointed currently. I think that's praiseworthy. Captain Seagull has served at stations 68, 27, 55, 35, 38, 15, 63, and 100, and supervised EMS districts, also known now as battalions. Districts 2, 4, 5, 6, 1, 13, 18, 11, 1, and 9, as well as serving in the Quality Assurance Unit. He was influential in being the inventor, responsible for being the inventor of an emergency extrication device that the LA Fire Department actually bought. And the LA Fire Department seems to have had more of a budget restriction than they've had years of favorable budget, and the fact that Captain Seagull was able to sell an invention to the LA Fire Department, also noteworthy. And it's currently under testing with the U.S. military. During his service to the Los Angeles Fire Department, he's dealt with countless emergencies, disasters, and noteworthy events. It's estimated, and the books don't lie, that he has been on over 250,000 emergency responses in 41 years. If you estimate the number of people under his supervision, including paramedic interns, It's an estimated 3 million responses that he has influenced. Noteworthy events: the 1976 San Pedro ship explosion, the 1976 Occidental Tower fire, the 1984 Olympics, hosted here in Los Angeles. The 1986 Los Angeles Central Library fire, 1988 First Interstate fire, 1988 Burlington apartment fire, 1991 LAX plane crash, a Boeing 737. The 92 Sepulveda Basin flood, the 92 civil disturbance, also known as the riots. 1994 Northridge earthquake, 97 Hollywood shootout, 98 crash of Fire 3, 2002 LAX El Al shootout, the 2007 Griffith Park fire, 2007 Malibu fire, 2010 Electric Daisy Carnival incident, which is also known as a rave. That's put in the notes. Where's your glow sticks now, Mark? 2011 Magic Castle fire, 2011 Los Angeles City and County windstorm, 2013 LAX shooting incident, and the 2013 tanker truck fire and fuel spill on the I-15. Marc's received 2 Medals of Valor. He created the LAFD Bike Medic program. And he developed and published the LAFD grief procedure. Marc is a drug recognition expert, and he was a police officer before he got in the LA Fire Department. I don't want this to sound like a eulogy, but for somebody who's still living, he's lived a pretty incredible life in his career, and I'd like to do a round of applause for that. He's received the City of Los Angeles 2005 Career Service Award, the first and only Department of Health and Safety Award for ethics and professionalism, minus the dinner table at home. Wilshire Chamber of Commerce Hue and Cry Award for Valor, City of Los Angeles Commendation for Valor, LAFD Commission Commendation, say that 5 times fast, and 2-time recipient of a Los Angeles Police Department Commendation for Valor. With clear innovation, invented and patented a collapsible wheeled rapid excavation stretcher, and started a successful business in the sales and distribution of first responders in the national and international public and private sectors along with the military. Whereas Captain Seagull earned the admiration and respect of his peers and subordinates through his dedication and commitment to the fire service and to the Los Angeles Fire Department. And to present Marc with the City Council Award is his stepson-in-law, LA City firefighter Darren Lair from Station 3. Following Darren's presentation of the award to Captain Seagull, there'll be a retirement badge presented by LAFD's own Chief Benarchik and a video presentation by his stepdaughter, my sister, Kelly Lair. Darren.
All right, I get to give him this gift from, I guess, the City Council of LA. Can you hear me? All right. I am one of those guys Dan was talking about, firefighter only, and I love it. And I have to live with these 2 guys a lot who like to talk about paramedic stuff, and I leave the room. And it works for me. But anyways, before I give him this, I want to say one thing about Marc. The reason I know him and the reason I stand here tonight too is I was a probationary member at 65s, and Marc was EMS 13, and I have to thank him once again, as I always do, because he had an open mind to a rookie that was sitting there that had his step-daughter-in-law walk in the room, and my eyes light up when I saw her, and he was open-minded enough to allow my captain to talk to him and allow me to date her while I was on probation. And we now have 3 young boys, and everything is perfect in my mind. So thank you, Marc, for not being one of those guys and allowing me to live my life. Anyways, it says, on the occasion of your retirement after 41 and a half years of service as City of Los Angeles, your friends in the Los Angeles Fire Department hereby present this testimonial as an expression of the high regard in which you are held by all, with the best wishes for your future health, prosperity, and happiness. February 26, 2015. Congratulations.
Well, it's amazing. Thank you, Darren. I just wanted to add a little bit about how Darren and Kelly met. At 65's, is it Christmas dinner? Thanksgiving dinner. And the lovely wife was coming down and didn't want to drive down by herself, so she brought Kelly.
We weren't married yet, honey. We weren't married yet.
Well, the future lovely wife brought Kelly. And, it's the thing up here.
That's okay. We're retired.
And Kelly came walking in through the front door, and after the doorbell rang, and Darren was the the rookie at 65s at the time. And who was the captain? Was Garnucci was the captain there. And Darren came down the hallway, and the two of them locked eyes. Not Garnucci, but Darren and Kelly. And you could just feel the energy. I looked at Robin, she looked at me, and it's, uh-oh. And the two of them had pretty much been inseparable ever since. But Darren did come up to me afterwards and asked if I would give him permission to call Kelly, and I said, well, let me think about this for a little bit, and let me talk to Kelly and see what she says. And so I called Kelly. She was on the way home. I guess the first phone call occurred probably within 60 minutes after they left, and the rest is history. And I'll talk a little bit about the triplets a little bit later on, but Darren couldn't be happier to have you as a stepson-in-law. And let's get on with this, because I'm not feeling really comfortable about this. But thank you all.
Chief, presenting Marc's retirement badge, LAFD's Chief Benarchik.
Gee, thanks. All during this week, I was kind of off and on talking to Robin about, helping, arrange this dinner. And she goes, well, I don't know what the presentations are, kind of, what's the order and what do we expect and everything. I was like, Robin, no matter what you do, please don't make me last. It's tough. I'm last. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And the other thing, she goes, well, it's going to be more of an emotional family type thing. And I said, well, Robin, why is that? And I mean, is there going to be a lot of chiefs there? And she goes, nah, just you. But in prepping for the dinner, I talked to Marc a little bit about this also. And one thing in all seriousness, that you're after 41 years, God bless you, all that time, and you deserve something like this. You deserve to have your family and your friends and co-workers come out and pay tribute to you. It's a fire department tradition, and you do deserve it. I mean, look at all the faces that come out here. Back in the corner over here, you got Mark Shapiro, Dave Stamp, Bernadette, Art Sorrentino. You got that really old timer over there, Jerry Hoya, and you got this table over here. The one table here alone, you got 50 years of experience, and that's just Cousset. I mean, but the one thing that really touches my heart a lot is coming out to something like this is I was able to see the guy that taught me everything he knows about riding a rescue way back when. In the early 80s, when I was a youngster on a job, I used to ride the rescue with Jerry Brakeman, and oh, come on. Now give Jerry a hand, for God's sakes. It's coming to events like this. It makes Jerry feel like he's 80 again. Really. Yeah. Oh boy. But in going around and prepping, I talked to Mark about this almost a month ago now. It's like, and so in getting ready for this thing, you kind of want to go around and you talk to people and stuff. Like, give me stories about Mark. Give me stories about Mark. And everybody's like, Mark who? You can't get any stories on anybody. And Mark would work with me I work at MFC, which is our dispatch center, but downstairs is Fire Station 4. An EMS office is down there also. And Mark would be there working overtime some days. I'd come down all fired up and, about something and sit down with him at dinner time. He's just calm as a cucumber and just as easygoing as can be. And he goes, what's got you riled up? And I go, this, that. And he goes, take it easy, take it easy. I'm not going to take it easy. He's just always calm. The entire time that I've known him, it's such a great thing to see someone like you and to be able to work with somebody like you, Mark, all through the years. That just kept the same demeanor, never had a bad thing to say about anything or anybody, and that what somebody was saying just a little bit earlier about, hey, make it simple, just transport the patient, you're good, and that's been the demeanor that he's kept up with, and something that I kind of follow and I do appreciate. I appreciate you and your demeanor and the leadership role that you've displayed for not only older guys like me, but a lot of the youngsters that are out there also. They needed people like you to provide that leadership. And following that, the LA Firemen's Relief Association is who I'm here for to do the presentation. Is an organization that's been established for well over 100 years. We have a lot of tradition, and one of the tradition that we do is at the event where somebody does retire, we do present the retired member with his or her badge. In this instance, Mark, would you please come up and allow me to present you your retirement badge after 41 years of service? Congratulations.
Thanks.
It's not really his, it says Hurtado. Thank you very much. I'll hang on to that and get you a real one now. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Mark.
Hi. I didn't know I was speaking until recently, so excuse me. I was going to suggest a roast, but I don't need to. You've done great. I've gone around asking people for quotes, and everyone's been so scared. I even had a guy ask me if he was being recorded. And when I told him he wasn't, boy, did I get quotes. I'm so proud of Mark, and I met him nearly half my life ago. Excuse me. I can't say some of the things that went on because we have some bigwigs here. I can't. The first time I met Mark was a ride along, and I got to go, through South Central and all these scary places. And I remember I was, some big, large woman yelled at me, Barbie, and I was terrified in the car, and I had a bulletproof vest on, and I swear Mark did that to scare me, but that was the first time I met him, and it was a really neat experience, and he was so calm and cool and collected, and he always seemed so on target, and it's been nice to get to know him over these years and see his mushy side, because he really does have some mush. And my mom always says that I'm the female version of Mark. I always know what he's going to say. I don't know if that's a compliment. But I really love him, and I'm so proud of him. I made this slideshow. I don't know what usually goes on in these retirement dinners, if there's like a protocol for what needs to be in the slideshow, but I did what I thought he would like, so you better deal with it, and it's really nice, and I want a lot of applause, and it shows his family and his life, and I've gotten to see his passions, and hopefully you'll all see that. So cheers to Mark.
streets persuaded me. Mumble straight through the water, through the rain, to the soul of everything. I throw my heart out on the stones, and I'm almost gone. And there's no meaning in clothes and coffee cups, cheap hotel furniture, silence never stops. Through the water, through the rain, to the soul of everything. I throw my heart out on the stones, and I'm almost gone. Now I'm dreaming, I'm staring at the wall. Cars are frozen now, late night waterfalls. Through the water, through the rain, to the soul of everything. Throw my heart out on the stones, and I'm almost through the water, through the rain, to the soul of everything. I wash my heart out on the stone, and I'm almost gone.
Docking policy.
These are bloopers.
Well, that's it. How does it feel?
Wonderful. See, it comes off. Put it on the seat.
And upgrade.
All right, guys. Today is Wednesday. I'm over here. No, it doesn't matter you're over there. I'm over here. You're in the middle. Okay, who's the inside guy today?
Me.
You're inside. Who's the top man?
Me.
Okay. Then who's driving the rig today?
Me.
All right. So you guys know where we're going?
Yeah.
Where are we going today? We gonna go climb some ladders?
Yeah.
Yeah? You wanna pull some hose?
Yeah.
Yeah? You want to do that, huh?
Yeah.
Who wants to go fire prevention?
Me.
That's what I want to hear.
I want to go to fire station.
Okay.
Good job.
Anybody else want to do anything today? Who wants to go? Who wants to take a nap?
There's been worse slideshows. And as important, the heartfelt thoughts I know were appreciated by Captain Seagull, and it's brought a nice morale to the room. We now have opened it up to an open mic for the final thoughts to be shared by anybody. Round 2 if necessary. Captain Cleveland. An alumni dinner presentation. Yes, sir. I'm going to share one quick short poem, and then it'll be turned over. As long as the night will go. The bar still open back there? I'm Mark's stepson, and Mark told me that if he got me involved in the Explorer program in the early 2000s, and if I was able to be sponsored to go to paramedic school, that if I didn't pass, that he would execute me. I passed. Mark mentored me through EMT school, paramedic preparation training, through paramedic school and internship, my entire probation, and I was able to work underneath him when he was working as EMS 11 out of Station 13. To call him a mentor is subcontracted to what he has truly done to me. He is also a great friend and a fellow scuba diver, and his loyalty and his dedication to his family and his craft is unparalleled. So I have a short poem that I want to share. Here's to over 2 scores of service from the great Captain Seagull. Senior medic among hundreds, he is certainly the bull. Gathered titles from Cap to Yoda, as well as acquired attributes from compassion to not giving one iota. From the harbor to the valley and everywhere in between, with 250,000 responses, it's a miracle his ears don't bleed and his lungs are still clean. Known for his cookies or his potatoes, he would mash, or fling to a call with both items hanging from that signature mustache. A leader of leaders, yet a servant to the least, learning from you has been a proverbial feast. Congratulations, Mark. A worthy reputation and legacy we all seek to acquire. You have earned this, sir. Enjoy the next chapter as you retire.
There's so much I can say. I know Mark from when he was EMS 5. That was EMS or EMS 13 now. So a lot of things have changed. When you talk about legacy, I'm part of Mark's legacy. I truly am. Mark challenged me to be a better medic. He challenged me to be a better man, a lot of stuff. He would say, don't make me do your job. And he just, my pride, my ego, everything. I'm not, no. You're not going to do my job better than me. And just working with Mark all these years, working with him at 59s. Robin, like I told you, is like you put him on a diet and then we just start cheating. I'd wake up, I'd make him coffee, I'd wait for him to come in, and then we start telling lies. Then it'd be 2 people, then 3 people, then 5 people, then 6 people, then 7 people. Everybody in there lying and laughing and just having the greatest time ever. That man, this room is not indicative of the people who he has benefited. It's not. This room should be overflowing. It should be people out there in the ocean. We should have a ship outside because that's how many people he has affected in his legacy and the many different things that he's done. And I could tell some stories, but, you know, this ain't the proper crowd.
Thank you.
Just Mark, just know, man, I love you. And it ain't a lot of people I love. Not even a lot of people I like. But you right there. You've done a lot for me. You've done a lot for this city that we live in. And you've taught us many different things. And just having that moment in the morning where we would laugh and tell lies and reminisce about old times, it was good for me. It was. It was something that you said and that I always hear people say. If you love doing something and now that's your job, you'll never work if what you do, you love doing it. And that is what you have demonstrated to me. Even now, knowing that you have to go because you deserve it. But I know if you could, you'd put another 40 years on here. But enjoy, Robin. Just, hey, you got our brother. You got my surrogate stepdaddy, all that. Friend, co-worker, mentor. He's done it all for us. And this room, and I'm telling you, is not indicative of what that man has done. And I've been watching him. And I've been watching him for a long time, for 20-something years. And I'm telling you, he's done a lot. And I've seen it with these 2 lying eyes that are in my head. Okay? So, I love you, man.
Well, like CC was saying, this room should be filled with a lot of paramedics that have been trained by Mark. I'm lucky. I happen to be one of those medics. I was over at Fire Station 55 with some reputable paramedics, Jim Goldsworthy and Dave Hurd. And for whatever reason, they decided that I needed to be extended. So when I was in the drill tower, we had a lot of our paramedics, Larry Mayer, Ben Fulgham, Carlesta Wells. They would always talk about some of the teams that were out there in the field, and one of them they would talk about was Daryl Finks and Marc Segal. And you know, in those days, you were literally husband and wife out there, because once you left the fire station, you very rarely came back. So you were out there doing it, and then you come back, maybe sleep 1 or 2 hours, and then go home. And then when you would recover for 4 days and start all over again, unless you got assigned hired. That's another story. But anyway, I got to my 14th shift, and they said I was being extended, and they said, you're going over to Fire Station 35 with Marc Segal and Daryl Finks. Well, I'd already heard about them. And I already knew about Mark because he was very famous. He's probably the most famous paramedic at that time. We're talking the early '80s, because he was on the front page of the Times. He was on the front page of the Herald Examiner, and he was on the front page of the Daily News when he went in. And some gentleman decided that he wanted to be Samuel and try to tame the lions, and lion didn't want nothing to do with it. He was hungry. He wanted to eat. So they needed the paramedics to go in there and basically pronounce the gentleman dead. Well, Daryl Finks, he wanted nothing to do with that. I remember talking to him. I'm not going in there. He says, so Mark, he had to go in there. They had the SWAT team there in case the lion got going at Mark. So I had the opportunity to talk with Daryl at the time, and so I mean, Mark has been famous for a long time. So, but anyway, I was with him for 8 shifts, and he taught me more in 8 shifts than any member did when I was there. He bent me a couple of ways and said, no, you do it this way, and this is what you got to do with this type of a patient. And every time I'd have a patient, you'd go right back to your basics, and I could hear Mark telling me, no, you got to do it this way. No, you got to do it this way. And it's a tribute to Mark, and he's one of my heroes. And fast forward to a couple of years ago, I was over at Fire Station 44 at EMS 2. This guy can make House Duke's cookies to die for. They are the best. Every shift, all the guys, why don't you make your House Duke's cookies? I'm kind of busy today and stuff, but every once in a while he'd come in with his gallon of milk and his chocolate chips and go to town. And we loved them. They were very good. So, hey, Mark, I just want to say happy retirement, and thanks for all the help and friendship, and it was great. You're a true mentor for me.
Okay, talk about pressure. And I hate speaking in public, so if I mumble, sorry. Okay, so everybody does the professional. I get to do the good stories. So I could talk about the many times he fell asleep in a pool in our house in Laverne, in that big blow-up that was like a chair. He'd fall asleep, have his Walkman, so nobody bother me. My mom and I would put bets. Is it going to be 15 minutes? Is it going to be 5 minutes before he rolls into the pool? Average was about 7. Yeah. Thank God we didn't have a deep end. Yeah, okay. My brothers and I gave him a run for his money. Not like he had enough going there. Growing up, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house, my bubby and papa. And so whenever I would see an ambulance go by, there's Dad at work. There's my daddy. And I'd always see if he was in there. And then I'm 6, 7 years old watching a show, Emergency, wondering if I'm going to see my dad there. Huge inspiration. But I always thought I was going to see him on TV or something. But there's a lot of stories I could tell. We talked about this earlier. At 17s, we went for Easter. He decides to bring out the blow up, or the air, whatever. Yeah. Go on up. My brothers just keep going up, jumping off. Then they decide, let's do some somersaults. So they start flipping off the roof. My dad's about ready to have a heart attack. Some of the wives are going up. Not me. That was fun. But keep it short and sweet. Back in '94, I was at Citrus College. I was in the theater department. And a bunch of people invited me to do a dance-a-thon. Now, for the people that know me, know I love to dance. So I go with a group of my friends to this dance-a-thon that was held at the LA Convention Center. And I told my dad, yeah, come on, Dad, it's just going to be, this thing. I didn't know the West Hollywood cheerleaders were going to be there. I didn't know there was going to be a drag queen competition there. And I'm there in jeans, boots, and a crop top, not knowing that my dad was going to show up with some of the captains. And I think a chief or two, I don't know, there's 6 guys. I'm walking down one of the hallways. There's my dad. What's up? I had some drag queens with me. He's just like, what's wrong, Dad? That was priceless. God, my mind just went blank. I got pushed up here so fast. My dad put a lot of years in. We all know that. That's obviously proof. He's got plenty of gray hair, nice bald spot that it's looking good. But he put in a lot of years, sacrificed a lot of times. During the riots, it was hard, not being able to communicate with my dad. The LAX plane crash that Daniel had talked about, I remember that. A lot of calls. I definitely remember growing up and seeing how my dad came home afterwards. And I don't know how he did it. 24-hour shift, whatever. 48-hour shift, whatever. But then 72, 96 hours, sometimes he'd be gone a lot longer. So he got his naps in when he wanted to, and now he has plenty of time to sleep and take his naps and travel. So congratulations, Dad. Love you.
Yes, Captain Perkins. Awesome.
Marky Mark. My guy. I really got to know Mark when I was a brand new captain. Got thrown into the fire real quick, promoted me to Fire Station 57. We didn't have an 800 and I was running about 30 calls a shift on more than one occasion. Mark was the EMS captain housed there, and he was always there to help out. Coming on the fire side, you heard a lot about the EMS captains and the paramedics. Well, it wasn't long before I jumped in with them. I think I had about 3 years on the job and became a medic. And when I got promoted to 57s, I was very, very elated that Mark was there. He had a lot of time on, a lot of seniority. You were always there to help. We'd be running out the door trying to run a hire, and Mark would jump in the front office and help me with a hire, cook, whatever it was I needed. Wasn't long after that, about 3-4 more years went by, and I got lucky enough to get a spot at EMS 6 down the harbor. And there he was again. My relief. I think, what did we work together? 7 years, something like that? Worked together a long time. Made relief in the kitchen there at Fire Station 112. What a great spot. Can we make that 24 again as our chief here? Mark, you going to come back if they open it?
They opened it up.
But no, really. I hadn't been a captain long, and I had done both fire and EMS, so I certainly didn't have the expertise that he did. And he's been great. Policies, hospitals, questions, all that tough stuff that comes to the EMS captain, I could always go to Mark, and he was always there for me. I've enjoyed every minute. You've been an amazing officer, amazing leader, and a great, great comrade. Thank you.
Captain Seagull, I just wanted to get up and just say a couple words and congratulate you on this amazing accomplishment. I can't imagine, down the road, 30, 35 years later, where it can't even comprehend at my short time on the job right now. But I was able to work with Captain Seagull at 13s for a period of time, but more, I've worked with Daniel for the better part of 6 or 7 years at 13s, and I got to know Dan and his family and Captain Seagull both, on a personal level, family dinners at home and other events outside of work, and then at work, and it was always just really, really great to have that in the fire station, a really great resource as a new paramedic and fairly new firefighter to be able to have all that experience at the available to you, and just showing up on scene and needing extra assistance with an EMS supervisor and hearing that Captain Seagull was going to show up, it was a great relief, and having him on scene, he was always hands-on. There was nothing hands-off about his operation. He'd be in the back of the ambulance starting an IV. He'd intubate the patient if you'd let him. He'd always have that enthusiasm, and it rubs off. And so when I think of how I want to model the rest of my career after, I definitely think of Captain Seagull. So I just want to congratulate you and on a great accomplishment.
All right, my name is Mark Jackson, and I'm a business partner of Mark's. But this all started like 10 years ago on a dive trip to Belize. I didn't know Mark or Robin, and Mark, we're sitting there talking after a dive, and he goes, "Hey, I got this problem, and it has to do with the bike EMS teams and transporting people to a forward care area and all that sort of stuff." And he starts talking to me about this, and I go, "Wow, I know how to take care of that. I can fix that. I can do that." So that led into a patent and potentially a multi-million-dollar business. And one thing, I'm in a different circle, of course. And the funny part is, for some of you guys, you're not going to see so much of Mark. But now I think, now that he's retiring, I get to see more of Mark. And we talk often, and he's a real idea guy. Always has constant, really pretty darn good ideas. And almost every conversation ends up with me saying, I think I could do that. I think I can figure that out. So it's a good thing I think he's retiring, in my opinion. It's kind of selfish about that. And I'll get to see him in his new Tesla when he comes driving up. But anyways, congratulations, Mark. Quite an accomplishment. And, man, now we got all this other stuff we get to do, right? So.
I'm sure there's a lot of people here who don't know who I am, but I'm Mark's youngest sister. Actually, I'm his older sister, but I have something I want to give him, but I just want to tell one little story that comes to mind. I actually told Mark about it earlier. He was 2 years old, and I was 7. And in our backyard, my dad had built a patio and about a maybe 4.5 foot block wall that curved around. Now, we had a sprinkler system in the backyard, and they weren't the new pop-up sprinklers. They were brass sprinkler heads that stood up all the time. So Mark was a daredevil, and so was I. And I said, let's play Superman. We're going to fly. So we climbed up, he's 2 and I'm 7, on the top of this block wall. My mother was in the house, and I said, we're going to jump off and fly. Well, we jumped off, and he went straight down, his head right here
hit the sprinkler head, and he was screaming, blood was everywhere. And I had my arms underneath his armpits, and I'm walking like this, screaming for my mom. And you'd have to know my mother. She came out, took one look at him, and said, "Don't you dare come in the house, you're going to get blood all over the carpet." So we stood outside. She ran back in the house, got a bath towel, wrapped it around his head, threw us in the car, and where did we go, Mark? Off to Dr. Husband on Whittier Boulevard, and he had about 3 stitches right there. But anyway, I went through Dad's album. My dad had about 28 photo albums. He kept them in meticulous shape, started in 1924 up through 2008, 2007. So I went through, scanned some pictures. Mark, if you'd come up here. And open it and share it with everyone. You can read the card later. Oh, come on.
Meticulous. Oh, my goodness.
You can take it out of there, too. This is a little bit of Mark's life, and it's probably really hard to see, but let me hold this up here for a minute. The middle picture is typically Mark when he would come home after like a 48-hour shift, and this was actually at my parents' house. He would crash on the sofa, just spread right out. And so it actually started with the football uniform on. He was about 3 years old. I don't know if you can see this picture.
Oh, God.
I used to dress him up as a girl. Wait.
Had to go there.
He had on a skirt and a knitted hat, and I called him Marcia.
Is there something you want to tell me, honey?
I think this
Are you missing any girls?
All right, the gloves are off.
Then he went into the Cub Scouts, and this is a picture when he first became a paramedic with the guys that he was with. This is when he went into Little League, and this is our family. Our parents, my younger sister, Mark, and my older brother, and myself.
Wow.
And I just thought this kind of showed him through the years and thought he might enjoy this. So you can probably, I'll put a picture of it if you want to take a look at it. But this picture of Marcia was the best.
Marcia!
And actually, it was Richard Johnson, wasn't he?
Richard Johnson.
It was actually our next door neighbor who named him Marcia.
That's all on video.
Here's yours.
That is so bad.
Here's.
Okay. Here, thank you. Thank you.
No. Here, I'm going to set it right here. Mark, here's your shirt. I still love you.
I love you too. Just a little bit less.
Listen, I used to change your diaper.
God.
I know, I'll keep it short. I keep hearing Captain Seagull, and I'm like, who's that? Because I know him only as Uncle Mark. And our families, we grew up together. Brian, Jason, Stephanie, my sister, and I, my parents, and Uncle Mark we had a lot of experiences, a lot of family trips. He helped move me to college, and every birthday he would buy me a pair of shoes. It was kind of this one thing, and he would call me on every Easter morning and say, it's the Easter Bunny, and I really thought it was the Easter Bunny, and he still to this day calls on Easter morning and says it's the Easter Bunny, and it's just one of those great memories, and he's just always been there, and he's such an amazing role model in my life, and I'm very, very, very fortunate to have all of you guys in our life, and I just remember the times when I was working patrol, and we come down to the harbor, and my partner and I have to go to Harbor Station, and I'm like, oh, hold on, let me see if somebody's there, and I go in there, and here he's fire captain, and my partner's looking at me like, you know the captain here? And I'm like, yeah, oh, you want to have a spaghetti dinner? And it was just some of those memories I'll never forget, and I really wish you the best in retirement, and we all love you, and thank you for being you.
This is going to become the Badar show. Janelle's my daughter, but I've been sitting here, and who the hell are you guys talking about? I'm totally confused. I've known this guy for 38 years. We're very, very close friends. But you know what? When I come from a little bit bigger department, and a guy that went to that many stations, we'd call him a malcontent. We'd be a management problem. What the hell? You're going to move this guy everywhere. But I will tell you that I want to compliment the LAFD because I saw such a tremendous major change in Marc Segal the day he made captain. Before, he's just, hey, I got to go to work. I'm going to spend a lot of time, make a lot of money. They pay me to do this. And then all of a sudden, as he made captain, it seemed to me, on a personal level, he changed. He thought he could be a mentor. He thought he could actually change some of these guys' lives. It sounds like he did, or he at least bullshitted you enough to think you did. But we're very happy as a family to be here with Marc and his family. And I don't think that even though we don't do things on a daily basis, we always connect. Recently, my wife was in the hospital. My first phone call, he called, wanted to know what he could do. He cares. Okay, I don't know if he cares about his pocketbook or he cares about us, but I think he really cares about us. Marc, congratulations on 41 and a half, because I know you wanted to get that half in. And because this way you actually got 20 and a half years of actually going to work in service, because the other 20 years you were off IOD. Who dressed you?
Seat open.
That was a really good roast. It's a good one. Mostly true, too.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I would feel remiss if I didn't say something. I have not been around the fire department nearly as long as Marc has. I did meet him, however, to go on a ride out to help him do some consulting for a TV show that he was going to be doing, and he needed some psychological perspective. And
for the people that visit.
Exactly. So I was approached by Brian to ask me if I would do this ride out with his father to give him some psychological perspective, because I'm a therapist. So I was very nervous because I'd never been on a ride out before, although Kelly had been on a ride out and it sounded like such a blast, going down the middle of Los Angeles at 90 miles an hour, lights and siren. That sounded pretty fun to me. I thought, yeah, I'll do that. So I said yes, very nervously went down to Los Angeles to meet up with this Captain Seagull, and I felt very intimidated when I first met him. He had this command kind of presence about him, and I'd heard all kinds of stuff about him from Brian, and I thought, wow, this is a pretty important guy. And so I get in the car with him, and he's very, very, just rigid kind of and professional. And he said, you need to put on this brush jacket, and we need to do this and that. And I'm like, okay. And so that's ensued this ride along. And so he's asking me questions and certain scenarios and what psychologically might happen if we did this. And we ended up at a call of an electrocution victim. And he gets out and he says, just kind of stay behind me. I'm dressed like a fireman, so people are asking me questions and I don't have anything to say. So I'm just kind of hiding behind him. And they bring out this electrocution victim from underneath the house, and the paramedics are actively working on him. They're performing CPR. And so I leaned over and I said, is he going to be okay? And he goes, no, he's dead. The reason why they're doing that is because a huge crowd had gathered around the house at this time, because it was in a neighborhood in South Central, so a lot of the people knew each other, and so they're all out in the street. So they're working on this man, and again, he's very professional, very calm, like everyone has mentioned here about him. He had very calm demeanor about him. I'm freaking out inside. And he's just standing there watching his paramedics do their thing, and all of a sudden I see these 3 women running up the street screaming, and they're coming right towards both of us. And he has a captain's helmet, which is a different color than everybody else's. And so they ran right up to him, and they were just hysterical. And they said, our dad, my husband, is he going to be okay? And he had already told me, he'd already passed away. So I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be good. What is he going to say? And I watched him reach out and put his arms around these women. And he pulled them into him, and he said, we're doing everything we can for your husband. And they calmed down. Now, I knew they were going to find out later. He knew they were going to find out later that he had passed away. But just the calmness that he had and the way he treated them, I got a whole different perspective about him. And I remember getting back in the car, and I looked at him. And for some reason, I wasn't intimidated and afraid of him anymore. And I said, you are so full of it. And he looks at me with this really weird kind of look on his face. And I said, you're a complete teddy bear, aren't you? And that's when his face just changed. And that's when I think I realized that he was just a really, really, really nice man. And the rest is history, kind of. It's a long history, but I'm so proud of you. I'm so grateful for who you are and what you represent, and for who you've been to me and to our family. And I just feel so fortunate. So I love you. Congratulations.
Thank you for attending tonight. At the conclusion of Captain Segal's final remarks, I don't think there's any tipping of your servers, but please safely travel home, and Mark will be available for autographs for approximately 30 minutes. Thank you for coming.
Well, I'm going to try and make it through this. I can stay up here and shoot and tell stories, and this would probably go into the wee hours of the morning, but I'm going to try and stay to the script and maintain some sort of dignity. But anyway, I wrote a few words down over the last couple of days as to kind of put my thoughts on paper on what the last 41 and a half years really meant. So I'm going to, if I veer off on stories, just bear with me. But anyway, I've often been asked, why would I stay on this job for 41 years? And first, here's a little story. First, it almost didn't happen. About 42 years ago, when I went down to Hollywood High School to test for this position, I got there about 7 o'clock in the morning because the written was going to be at 8. And there was already 4 abreast. The line was down the street and started to wrap around the corner. So I got in line, and I was standing next to a guy, and he had a white shirt and white pants. And I believed he was working for Goodhue at the time. And I looked at the cuff of his pants for some reason, and I saw a little spot about the size of a quarter that looked like blood. And I asked him, I said, "Is that blood?" And he said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "We had a big traffic this morning, and, I didn't see that, or I'd have changed my pants." And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Do people bleed on you? Do you get their blood on you?" I said, "Oh, yeah, it happened." And I'm telling you, immediately, I started to get dizzy and see stars, and it was spinning, and I said, "This ain't for me." And I was going to leave. And just as I was getting ready to leave, the gate opened up to the front of the school, and everybody bum rushed in. And so I figured, well, I'm here, I'll take the written, but I am not going to do this. Took the written, passed it, which was a surprise. They gave me a background packet in the mail, and I said, well, I'll fill this out. It's good to have. So I filled it out and sent it in. I get called for an interview, and I said, well, I'll take the interview, but I'm not going to do this. So I took the interview and passed. And right before they hire, they send you for a psych evaluation. I'd never had a psych evaluation, so I thought I'd try this. So we're at City Hall South, and they're showing us pictures of ink blots on the screen. And this is after we take this 500 question test about, do you love your mother? Does your mother love you? Do you think you love each other? It's the same question 25 times. Well, in this testing process, there's LAPD recruits and fire department recruits. And so they had us set up so a firefighter recruiter, for me it was a rescue ambulance recruit, and a police officer recruit. And we're looking at these ink blots, and they say, write down 8 things that you see. And I'm seeing bird wings and butterflies and worms, and I'm, is that what I'm supposed to see? So I look over to this police officer, the candidate, and he's seeing all kinds of sexual organs, and I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing, penis, buttocks, you can see, and I'm looking, and I can't see this stuff. So we go to the next one, and here we go. I'm writing down leaves and wings and stuff like that, and I looked over, and sure enough, we're seeing nipples and penises, very big penis. And so after we do this 8 ink blots, they tell us to get a blank piece of paper and draw a fruit tree. So I draw a couple of lines like this, and I make a little thing, and I kind of shade it in a little bit, and I said, well, there's a fruit tree. So I'm looking next door to this police officer, and he's got a whole barnyard scene going here. We got cattle and sheep, and so after it was all over, we turned this in, and I'm thinking, wow. And this guy comes up to me, he says, hey, how do you think you did? And I says, well, I'm thinking one of us is not going to get a job. But anyway, okay, that's the last, well, that probably is the last story. And that, Daniel, was the Reader's Digest version. So. But anyway, like I said, over the years, most of my colleagues that came on with me that I work with cross-trained in fire suppression, or others went to nursing school or became PAs. And I stayed, and I think I stayed because EMS to me was more than a job. I considered it, a calling. It grew to define me. I remember as a rookie paramedic, more idealistic than most, thinking that EMS was where it was at, that a paramedic was all-powerful and godlike. And I would often say paramedics were the snooze alarm and the time clock of life. Well, I learned pretty quick that was bull. In 41 years, I've been physically and verbally assaulted by patients and their family members who didn't know any better. I was belittled by doctors and nurses who should have. I've waded through pee and poop and vomit and was almost murdered while stopping to help a citizen that flagged me down at 110th and Central. Again, that's a story for another time. And oh yes, I've been named in numerous lawsuits. One very special lawsuit was filed by a person who was in cardiac arrest, and I happened to take our new bandage scissors that can cut a penny, and I took her beautiful beaded gown and I cut it down to her belly button, opened it up so we could do chest compressions. Well, she survived that cardiac arrest, and about 6 months later I got served for a lawsuit named with the city for the cost of the dress.
True story.
True, absolutely true story. But so anyway, in 41 years, I've saved some lives, or at least got a viable patient back into the emergency room. Some have even walked out of the hospital while others stayed hung in there long enough for family to come and by their bedside and say goodbye. Saving lives is what I was trained for. Saving lives is what I came on the job for. But in reality, the opportunity to bring somebody back from the clutches of death, though exhilarating, is an extremely rare occurrence. In reality, my time on the job was not multiple shootings and physical rescues and major emergency structure fires. The first part of my career, humping a rescue, was full of sick calls and seizures of people who can't poop and toothaches at 3 a.m. or wading through downpouring rain around parked cars to get to the stairs which led up to the front door, and through the front door where there were 5 or 6 able-bodied people to get to a lady who just wanted somebody to talk to. So why did I bother? I did because I felt EMS was a calling. It defined me, and I'm quite sure it won't leave me in retirement. I've loved what I was called to do, and I never really worked a day in those 41 years. Most calls may have been just another call for me, what we now consider BS or basic service calls. But it was a defining moment to the patient and sometimes their families' lives. Years later, I've been in a restaurant or a store when someone would come up to me and say, "Hey, I remember you. You took care of me when I had my heart attack." Or, "You took care of my daughter when she was sick." Last month I was out at 105s and a paramedic came up to me and says, "I remember the first time I saw you. I was in the back of an ambulance with a patient with chest pain, and you walked up and looked at me and said, 'Don't make me come in there and start that IV.'" I remember that. So not everyone gets to touch the life of another human being. It was always an honor. Yet when people are at their most vulnerable, they invited me into their homes, told me things they wouldn't say at confession or to their rabbi, and then expected me to make it better. What an honor it was, and what a ride it has been. Lastly, I've asked if I'll miss it. And anyone that says no to that looked at it as nothing more than a job. For me, it was a huge part of my life and that of my family. To me, it was a calling. It defined me. When Robin and I decided to marry, I told her that she was going to marry a man that was married to the job. That my family at the station is not that much different than my family at home. These are all, you are all, my brothers and sisters. And I often looked at the new recruits as my sons and daughters, for I had to raise them pretty much the same way I raised my own children. Now this is the hard part, so bear with me. Let me end here with a few words about my family. First, Stephanie, Jason, and Brian. Jason's not here tonight. He's a crew chief on a helicopter in El Paso and couldn't get out here. But Stephanie, you met, and Brian. Brian's with LAPD. I'm so proud of you and what you've accomplished. Despite the fact that I would leave for the station long before you awoke, and I wouldn't be home that afternoon, or before you left to school the next day. Sometimes that meant helping you with homework or saying goodnight over the phone. I did my best to be the dad you so deserve. I have no greater pride in any of my accomplishments than watching you grow and mature and fledge the nest and become the positive and productive adults and role models for my grandchildren. I love you guys. For the stepkids, Daniel and Kelly, your husband, Darren, all I can say is thanks. Thanks for your support, not only in my career, but with my relationship with your mom. While I'm not your bio dad, I will always be here. And I'm proud of your accomplishments and successes just as much as I am of those of my own children. Now the really hard part. For Carolee and Darren's triplets, D-Man, Gray Man, and Jackie Bean. You see, I have a special connection to those boys because they saved my life. That's another great story, but here's the Reader's Digest version. If Robin and I hadn't sprinted across the parking lot, through the lobby, and up the stairs to be there at their birth, I wouldn't have noticed my heart problem. Had the stress test, which led to the angiogram, which found the blockages, which led to my quintuple bypass. If it hadn't been for them and their birth, the doctors believe I would not be here today. Now, I am watching all 8 of my grandkids grow and give back to their parents what their parents gave to us. I love them all, Riley, Bryn, Adeline, Sawyer, Mason, Davison, Grayson, and Jackson. And this is a really, really hard part. To my lovely wife, Robin, what can I say that all these people don't already know? For if I'm not talking about the family or the kids or the grandkids, I'm talking about you. You are my heart, my soul, and my life inspiration. And I thought that would make a great song. I have to look into that. I can only describe our marriage and our relationship in one word. It's a word that describes what I think everyone is looking for. You have given me contentment. So now we begin the next chapter. I look forward to falling asleep with you every night and waking up next to you every morning, even though Dexter will probably be in between. I love that dog, but sometimes I can't wait to turn the page. And to all of you, thank you for being here. This has meant more to me than words can express. May God bless you and yours, and may God bless all those that are standing in harm's way, so that we may meet here in peace. Thank you.